This Sao Paulo Grand Prix DFS Picks 2025 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in for the 700th episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. As we've done 699 times before, he's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. Cody, happy 700 to you, my friend.
Wow. I forgot it was 700, but just insane. It really, it's crazy. If you'd ever told me I'd done one episode, I literally told you were crazy when you told me that. And then 700. Wow.
It's funny because you stare down the barrel of it, and most podcasters, they say don't make it till 100, let alone 150, 200, 300. Here we are, Cody, 700 episodes in, and the show has done nothing but continue to bring joy to some folks and more importantly, bring joy to us. And so I got to tell you, but I love sitting in this seat, and for the last 699 times that I've done it with you in this show, that's not even to mention the fact that we've done it before in other shows. I can't wait for another 700 more. Yeah,
absolutely. I glad to be here, happy to be here. It's been going great so far, and looking forward to the next 700 and 700 more after that.
Indeed. Yes, so we are here not to talk about NASCAR, ironically enough. The 700th episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. We're not talking NASCAR. We're talking Formula One. But listen, we've always said, too, from the start, especially when we started the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, this sort of bled into having other venues to talk about. I mean, we've talked about IndyCar on this show. We've talked about Formula One. We've talked about some high limits racing and whatever else has been out there, because first and foremost, you're, I know, a huge motorsports fan. You've kind of gotten me into that world a little deeper over the last few seasons. But, first and foremost, we do love racing. And because it's the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, we talk NASCAR, but we do love other styles of racing, and F1's just part of that.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I mean, right, NASCAR is the main focus for, 41 weeks or whatever a year. That are 42 weeks, really, because we start a couple weeks going into the season. I mean, it's the majority of the focus all year long. That's the bread and butter. That's what we live and breathe. But while NASCAR takes their short break here, I think we're only 87 days until the Clash of the Coliseum. I don't know who's counting, but yeah, it's fun to talk about this. And, we set it up with the betting picks already earlier this week, so go back and check that out as well. But F1's a good time, and F1 DFS, Underdog, of course. Underdog works just like it does with NASCAR, basically. You pick the better or worse then. Pretty simple. But the DFS DraftKings portion part of things is very different from the NASCAR kind. So kind of fun to dabble in that as well.
Yeah, it is. And obviously, as we've watched and had been branched off into the F1 Gambling Podcast, that was sort of the whole premise behind it, is like, look, this is fun, and a lot of people across the world are watching this, so we wanted to try to get our audience into F1 as well. And so, yeah, hopefully you did. Hopefully you joined the party and got in on it and had some fun. Like Cody said, we did do the betting episode yesterday or the day before or whenever we did it. It's out there, and you can take a look at it too. Mind you that there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. It is the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, otherwise known as the Brazilian Grand Prix. They are in Sao Paulo for this race, and this is a sprint weekend. Therefore, there is going to be a shorter race on the Saturday rather. Qualifying practice starts tomorrow for all of this stuff, so I don't think you're going to see DFS prices don't shift nearly all that much, and
they don't at all. Once they're set for the week, they're set. Obviously, just like with NASCAR, starting spots might change your mind and determine some stuff. Although I will say in F1, I don't know, it still does matter where they start. But like place differentials, it's in the formula, but not really a thing. It's more of, I guess it still determines where you go. Like I don't set my lineups until you know where they start, but I don't think things change as much for what you might do strategy-wise in DFS with F1. Kind of depending on how the weekend goes, and having the sprint race will give us a little bit of something, but otherwise it's a different game over there for sure.
It most certainly is, and I'll explain that to you, but I first want to tell you that college basketball tips off this week. Make sure to subscribe to the college basketball experience and the college experience in general to catch their daily podcast, and download the SGPN app for free college basketball picks. Yeah, like Cody said, when we talk about the DFS version of this, with NASCAR, obviously you know that every place carries with it a point total, but in F1, the top 10 carry with them point totals. So it goes 25 points to first all the way down to 1 for 10th with increments of like 18, 15, 12, 10 in between. And then there's the fastest lap of the race. It gets another 3 points. Any lap you lead is a 10th of a point. If you beat your teammate, this is fun, you get 5 points for that as well.
That's honestly
fun.
Probably one of the biggest things in there, because when you do know where they're starting, and obviously, like Max Verstappen's going to beat Yuki Tsunoda most weeks. So it's almost a built-in 5 points for him, where you don't have that with the McLaren guys, because it could be either one any given weekend. But that beating the teammate thing, 5 points, when there's not a lot of points to be had in general. Like scores are generally a lot lower in this than they are in the NASCAR world. So that 5 points, if you can find 4 of your guys that end up beating their teammates, can be pretty huge.
Yeah, and when you start to look at like we said, like the DFS, especially in these teams where there's a giant gap in where one teammate finishes and the other, then this is definitely a good way to pounce on it, because you just look at it and you go, oh, okay, well, I know, that this is somebody I can count on to beat this other teammate, and that's an easy 5 points for you. Because, again, top 10, right, these points finishes are so sometimes hard to come by if your teams that are on the outside looking in. I'm looking at you, Sauber. Sometimes the Williams have struggles getting into the top 10. So if you can get these 5 points from knowing which teammate's going to beat the other, that could be the difference between you having a good week and you not having a good week, to be completely honest and absolutely 100% obvious with it. But yeah, I mean, that's identifying that could be a good strategy for you if you are running out of, because these guys are expensive at the top, Cody.
Yeah, it's building F1 is crazy, and because it's like if you're playing. Again, we're kind of trying to treat this as if you're new to this, because I know a lot of you listening are, and some of you have done it, so bear with us, obviously. But it's Thursday Night Football tonight, right? And so when you go play a DFS lineup for this game or for any individual game, you have to play a captain, and their salary is 1.5 times the points, or 1.5 times the salary, but they also score 1.5 times the points. That's the same thing in F1. So you pick a captain, where we don't do that in NASCAR. We just pick 6 drivers. So they're going to score 1.5 times the points, but they're going to cost 1.5 times the salary. And then you also have to slide in a manufacturer, where you'll get, or a constructor rather, I guess, is as it's called, of course. But you put in the constructor and get the team points. So you get points for what both guys do, right? So kind of a similar thing. You get points for the top 10, basically, the points finishers. The fastest lap, if you're one of your 2 constructor guys gets the fastest lap, it's the +3 points. It's the same for the laps led with the 0.1. Both team cars classified, you get +2. Both team cars finish in the points, so AKA the top 10, you get 5. So the classified, as we talked about yesterday or Tuesday on the betting episode, finish 90% of the race. Points finish, top 10 is +5. Both cars on the podium is an extra 3 points. So, but that's also a delicate balance, because Yeah, McLaren, they're going to check all those boxes, but they're also going to pay 10 times more for them. So, it definitely, even though there's only 20 cars, even though you generally know who kind of the top teams are, it's not easy on a week-to-week basis to build a lineup, which is the goal, obviously, because otherwise it wouldn't be any fun and it wouldn't make it hard. So, it's exciting.
It really is. And it does take a level of actual thought rather than just sort of plugging and playing the drivers. And remember, there's only 20 of them. So this is not like a smorgasbord of 36, 37 like you got with NASCAR. This is a limited field.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes the captain part of it exciting. What having the constructor in there helps make it exciting too, because when there is only 20 options, now, one of those has to be a captain, one of those has to be the of the 10 constructors. I shout out to DraftKings. They've done a really good job with how they've laid this out, and I really enjoy. I play it weekly. We've got the weekly game just like we do with NASCAR over in our group, so we'll share that in the Discord. You can jump in and have a little fun and play with us there. But it's a good time.
It is indeed. All right, well, let's set up this race. It is, of course, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in Brazil, set for 71 laps around this 4.309 kilometer track, just shy of 3 miles in general. We said yesterday, and we always did this in the F1 Gambling Podcast, where we told you what the track looks like. It just looks like a folded car seat, I think is what we decided on last week, or last episode.
I think so, yeah, and that's pretty much what it looks like, just that kind of bent over, crunched up position.
It most certainly does. The distance of the race, 305.939 kilometers. So, if you're a kilometer person, that's exactly what it is. So, again, this is 71 laps. Obviously, all the laps led are only a tenth of a point, so it's not really that big of a deal. However, you probably will get one person that's going to lead a lot of these laps, as we've seen several times over. Max Verstappen, sometimes you see them lead the entire race, all 71 laps of it. So don't beat yourself up if you don't get the one that doesn't get there, because sometimes you just don't get that, especially with how expensive these guys are.
Yeah, exactly. That's so it's very much different from NASCAR, because when you're building those NASCAR lineups, you're first looking like, okay, who's going to lead a lot of laps? Because you have to get your fastest, or you have to get your laps led in there and your fastest laps, which generally coincide at most tracks. Here, you're only getting one, at 1 point for every 10 laps led. There's only 70 laps. That's only 7 points to go around. And yes, scores are lower, so that matters. And if you get one guy that is going to do all of that, you'd like to have him, obviously. But, and then you're looking for place differential, like, oh, this guy's starting farther back, you want to play him. Yeah, it's not always the case so much in F1. I mean, it's not an exact science. They don't always finish exactly where they start, but a lot of times where you start on the grid is near where you're going to finish most of the time, barring having an issue or incident. Or Max Verstappen started 17th here last year and won the race, but extenuating circumstances in that one. I've totally forgotten all the Max Verstappen talk on Tuesday. Totally forgot to bring up that he started in 17th last year, which was something you don't see very often in F1. But
not in F1.
Oh well.
Yeah, no, and honestly too, the thing about F1, and especially if you're new to watching it, if this, because a lot of folks traveled with us in the F1 Gambling Podcast last year, but we have a bunch of new listeners that may not have followed it along this year. But yeah, with F1, it is very different from NASCAR in that you don't get the lap after lap of passing. It's more strategy, set it up, pit stops, and try to outsmart your opponent with tires and everything.
Really, strategy plays a bigger part in it than the actual racing most of the time. And so you're watching the race and you're like, oh, is this strategy going to work? Is that strategy going to work? You get a well-timed safety car. They don't have traditional yellow flags like we do. They've got the safety cars, or the partial course cautions, where it's only part of the course where you have to slow down, but the field doesn't bunch up, all that stuff. They don't like jump and then pit. You can pit wherever you're at whenever you come around, wherever the safety car is. So a lot of different things go into it. Rain tire, or tire stuff that goes into it with the weather plays a factor, especially at a track like this where the weather is so unpredictable. It's a ton of fun if you've never done it.
Some say it's chess, not checkers. That's precisely what F1 is. Yes, a thinking person's race. All right, we'll break down all of our favorite DFS plays from this, but first let me officially tell you about our friends over at MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on football and everything else, and their prop builder, second to none. Their motto is bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. There's easy deposit and lightning fast payout using cryptocurrency. You know that I always put it to the test, right? I'm always trying to find the most obscure sports that you could possibly bet on. Every ESPN Ocho sport that's out there, I'm trying to look at it. But we know the NFL's king, and it's Thursday Night Football, baby. MyBookie has got the Raiders as 9-point underdogs to the Broncos. So the Broncos 9-point homes. I'm so torn because 9 points is a lot to lay, right? But it is the Raiders right now. And I feel like the Broncos may just lay waste to the Raiders and beat them. They've done this the last couple times, actually. They've covered this spread the last couple times that they've beat them, even in Las Vegas. So give me the Broncos. Well, I just talked myself into it. Broncos -9. You can find that at -110 over on mybookie.ag. Great price for that. Head to mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN for a 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code SGPN. We are also brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Novig, you are getting the absolute best prices out there. Don't believe me? How about Bo Nix? 1.5 touchdowns for the Thursday night game I was just telling you about against the Raiders. Novig's got the over at -119 for the over 1.5, which I guarantee you should probably take. Hey, listen, there's some books out there. I'm not going to name names, but they've got Bo Nix's number at -146 for over 1.5 touchdowns. -146, -119. I think you get the picture, right? You're getting a much better price over at Novig. So go get on that. Novig is available in 35 or more states, which means it's probably available in yours. Download the Novig app and get $50 when you spend $5 if you use our promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. I don't know about you, but I need Bo Nix to have a really good start because I want to win so badly this. I've only got a couple weeks left in not just the Scott Fish Bowl, but the league I'm in that's got that crazy whacked out rule. There's only a few weeks left, and I just want to go out on a high note.
Yeah, I've got quite a few shares of Bo Nix, including in the Sean Green from the Sports Gambling Podcast. I am helping him manage a team, aka it's his team and I run it. Bo Nix is our quarterback, and we could really use a couple more wins here as we make the playoff push. So I'm trying to show up good for the boss. So come on, Bo Nix, help me out.
Hey, if you can win him a league, then that ensures that you stay, which means that I stay. So we're good. Like, go Bo Nix.
Yeah. Then we'll get to episode 800. All right, good.
So you're telling me that the future of this show rests on Bo Nix's arm?
Potentially, yes.
That's a little scary. All right. Well then, Cody, as we start to lay out our DFS plays for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, we just talked through the race, we talked through the strategy, and now we're going to give you some plays. Keep in mind, like Cody said, there's a captain spot, which means there's a captain price, and then there's a driver spot, which means it's a driver price, and then there's a constructor. So make sure as we get there, we'll let you know which price is which, and let you go from there. So, Cody, who are we starting with?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start off with Pierre Gasly. So with the captain spot, I generally like to take a lower tier driver, not going all the way to the bottom, but a lower tier driver to put in that captain spot, because remember, they get 1.5 times the points. So if you can find somebody that is going to beat their teammate, now he's going to get 7.5 times, or he's going to get 7.5 points instead of 5 points, because you're multiplying everything, right? So if you find a guy that can do good for you down there and score the points, you're also saving a shit ton of money, helps you crowbar in Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri. Generally, you can get, if you do that and go with a little bit of a cheaper constructor option, you can generally get 2 of those top tier guys in there, but that's about it. So Pierre Gasly, a guy I have my eyes on this week, talked about him in the betting episode, and I'm going to take him for the captain play this week at $6,000. You can also get him for $4,000 in the regular price guys after you fill out your captain spot, if you end up wanting to put him in there. But obviously, with his teammate Franco Colapinto, we talked about on the betting episode a couple of days ago, Colapinto is not that either of these guys are great or have been great this season, but Colapinto definitely behind Gasly. Gasly's finishing ahead of him most of the time, which you like. And So part of this, and especially in the DraftKings streets in the DFS world, is that nobody wants to really touch Alpine and nobody really wants to touch either of these drivers because they've not been great this year. They've been the worst team on the grid as far as the constructor standings go and everything, but I'm kind of pushing my chips in on them this weekend and really hoping that pays off. And if you differentiate yourself here, then that might really pay off because I don't know that a ton of people are going to have Gasly in there. So while not overly impressive this year, he has had some bright spots. A 6th place finish in the British Grand Prix. That's obviously a hell of a day if he can have a finish lineup for you. Again, you're only getting points for finishing inside of the top 10, and then you're also getting those few, if he can move forward on the grid or however it works. But 6th place finish there, 10th place finish at Belgium, 8th place finish at Spain, 7th at Bahrain, 11th in Australia, 9 top 13 finishes. So again, he's got quite a few finishes where he's at least getting close to the points when he hasn't gotten in there. But notably, 3rd place here last year in the crazy weather. Again, the forecast, and as I got looking more and more into this track this weekend and everything, the forecast is all over the place, depending on, it changes by the minute almost. But then they also have noted it's very hard to predict in advance at all because the track is where it's located. The weather just constantly is changing. Crazy stuff's going on. That's why we've seen some wild races the last couple of years. So if we get to Sunday morning or Saturday night and it looks like it's going to be crazy, love this play even more. Took advantage last year, got the podium finish with the 3rd place, did finish 7th here in the weather as well in 2023. So yeah, I'm all in on the Gasly train this week. Again, Alpine, not quite the play that they once were for us on the F1 Gambling Podcast, but I'm rolling my dice with them this week. So give me Gasly. You can play him as a captain at 6,000, or if you end up wanting to put him in there at the regular price at 4,000, I think he'll have a solid week for you. And I gave out both of them to finish in the points in the top 10. I do feel like Gasly going to have a much better day than Colapinto. So give me Gasly at that one.
And to put all of this in perspective, right? If you are already just looking straight at it and you look at the captain price for Max Verstappen at $20,000, you have an average. If you put Max in the captain spot, you have an average of 5,980 spots or dollars left per driver for the rest of the. What does that look like? Well, now you start getting into the Alex Albon, Hulkenberg, Bearman, Hadjar. Now you can kind of make a case for that, but look, when you get to Constructor, it only gives you Williams, Racing Bulls, Haas, Aston Martin, Sauber, Alpine that you can afford in that range. So you're already hamstringing yourself if you're trying to get cute and put Verstappen in as the captain. Now, go ahead and try it if you're a better DFS player than me, which you probably are. But it just gets tough at that point to build a good lineup and a good solid lineup.
You're really, really, if you play somebody like Max Verstappen as the captain, you're really just hamstringing yourself. I mean, he's got to go out and have the perfect day, but also the rest of your lineup has to be completely perfect. I mean, it's obviously possible, right? It can happen, and he can have the perfect day and score a ton of points, and the rest of your lineup can pan out and it can work. It makes it a lot harder to build something. Whereas if you play a Gasly at $6,000, and boy, you put Alpine in there at $3,000 in your constructor. Yeah, $10,200 for your 4 spots. I'm gonna have to build some. I'm definitely building some lineups like that and just leaning into Alpine being good here in the past, even though it's probably not going to pay off this week. Fuck it, Rod.
Hey, you only live once, right? That's what kids used to say. They don't say it anymore. Baby. Yeah, they don't. I don't think
they do. That's so like 2022, Rod.
That went the way of 6-7. We're taking it now, where the old people are saying it, so the kids don't like it anymore. That's where we're going with that one. But no, I definitely like that. All right, I am going to go with. Look, we were talking about Haas in the betting episode and how Oliver Bearman has sort of come in and done really good things for this Haas team and himself, right? I mean, he's come in as a rookie. His average finish this year is 11.8 on the year, which is just outside of the points almost each and every week, and he's only got 2 DNFs in these 20 starts this season. It's been impressive, right? These rookies have come in and they've done so well this year, and it just feels like maybe the changing of the guard is going to happen sooner rather than later with some of these guys. Could be on their way out, like Fernando and all these guys that are just sort of, right? They're probably going to be on their way out sooner rather than later. So Oliver Bearman is a good selection for me. And if you want him as a captain, he is $6,600 as a captain, and then as a normal driver, he's $4,400. I'm not completely sold on Bearman as a captain because it does sort of put you in an awkward situation price-wise, especially if you're going for, the constructor that I'm going to give you in a second, right? It just sort of puts you in a weird position. Now, if you want to upgrade the constructor, you can try by using Bearman as a captain. But to me, it just feels like I'll put him in as a regular driver and try to build around that. But Ollie Bearman, the last 3 races in a row have all been points finishes for Bearman. At Marina Bay in 9th place, at Coda 9th place, Mexico City 4th place. And what's even better is he started in those spots, right? So Marina Bay started 9th, finished 9th. Austin started 8th, finished 9th. Mexico City started 9th, actually finished 4th. So really good momentum for Bearman. And even still before that, right? At Monza, he got a 12th place finish. At Baku, he got a 12th place finish. At the Dutch Grand Prix, he got a 6th place finish. The Hungaroring got a 20th place finish. So, but that was an underbody issue. Finished dead last. But Spa 11th, Silverstone 11th, Spielberg 11th, Montreal 11th. So you know where he's going with this, right? I mean, that's been a string of really good finishes for Bearman. We talked about beating the teammate. Well, Esteban Ocon is on the other side of that, and he's beaten him several times over, especially I just read off to you all these 11th place finishes and points finishes. Well, for Ocon, he got a 9th place finish at Mexico last week. Still got beat by his teammate. 15th at Coda, 18th at Marina Bay, 14th at Baku, 15th at Monza, 10th at the Dutch Grand Prix, 16th at the Hungaroring, so he actually did beat him there. But we just talked about how he had trouble, Bearman did, in that race. 15th at Spa, 13th at Silverstone. Ocon's got an average finish of 12.9 so far this season with an average start of 15.2. So when we talk about beating your teammate, he has consistently been beating his teammate, has Ollie Bearman, and really been looking good doing it. So I'm 100% on the Bearman train to at least beat Ocon, which give you those points. And you've got the upside of a good, solid points finish. You won't get that place differential because I don't think he's going to finish within 3 points of where he starts, or 3 places where he starts, because he's usually starting pretty good lately. But again, for the beating the teammate part, for the and like Cody said, right? If you put him in the captain, now you're getting 1.5 times that as well, because you already know he's probably going to beat Ocon. So, yeah, I mean, Ollie Bearman, I talked about him in the betting episode. I'm really in on him in a DFS standpoint, especially at the price that he's at, because such a huge salary relief for some of these other guys that you're like, I don't know if they're going to beat their teammate.
Yeah, I love this play. I had Bearman written down, went to go put it in the doc. You had already taken him, so props to you for that one. But that's why I echo everything you just said. I think you made some great points, and I think we can expect a good race from him. Slow Roll checking in says Captain Shook turned into Captain Crook. Absolutely stole that. Congrats, Rod, on the sweep. For all of us that did not take Captain Crook, same thing that will make you laugh, will make you cry. Yeah, that's how it goes. So, hey, more NASCAR talk, futures talk a little bit next week, Rod. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with our DFS plays here in F1.
Indeed. What do you got next?
Next up, I am going to go to the teammate that you were just shitting all over. Not really, but I am going to go to Bearman's teammate, Esteban Ocon. And maybe this is somewhat of a case for taking Haas if you want to go with the super cheap constructor. They're only $3,100. But with Ocon, he's the 3rd cheapest driver on the slate. And when you're building these DFS lineups for F1, you're going to have to put some uglies in there, right? We sometimes in NASCAR try to avoid the very bottom of the barrel. You're not avoiding that in F1 most of the time. You're going to have to put some of these guys down farther in there. Obviously, if you play both of these guys, one of them can't get the extra 5 points, but it also means one of them will get the extra 5 points. So there is that if you want to look at it that way. But Ocon, he's been kind of okay for DFS most weeks, 3 points, 1 point, 1 point, 4 points. And those are decent days. They're not actually bad for as low as that sounds, right? But he's got the ability to jump up and get you 5 points, 6 points, 10, 11, 12 points, 13, 14 points like he did back in the Chinese Grand Prix throughout this season. Again, he was with Alpine the last couple of seasons and very good at this track. Now, again, was that an Alpine thing? Was that more of a him thing? Who knows? But 2nd place last year, joined his teammate on the podium there. 10th place here in 2023, so some good runs. He's coming off of a 9th place run in Mexico, so you like to see that. Been a bit of a mixed bag of results outside of that, but been in the points positions or really close quite a few times here lately. 10th place at the Dutch Grand Prix, 9th place in Canada, 7th place in Monaco. So those are a couple of places per races, rather, where he had good solid days here lately. And again, that's kind of that jump, the 5, 6, 10, 11 points that he has scored in some of these races. So I think that, and maybe this, again, potentially has you looking a little bit more at Haas if you're going with a cheaper constructor option. But when you're looking for guys on the cheaper end of things, I think that Esteban Ocon at only $3,400, definitely a guy you could look at. If you did want to play him in your captain spot, $5,100. I don't know, again, like you mentioned, that I love that, but and I do. That's the thing too, is like if you're going to pick a captain, you really want that guy to be a guy that's going to beat his teammate, because it's going to increase that to the 7.5 points, which is going to end up being huge over not getting any points for not beating a teammate. So I don't know that I love Ocon for that reason. We'll see where they start on the grid, right? If it's a big difference, if he's starting way better than Bearman and Bearman's at the back or something, definitely look into it. Unlikely, but we'll see with the weather. But I do like Esteban Ocon this week at that cheap price that I just listed before I lost it. $3,400.
Well, again, and so I don't think we've kind of hammered this point enough, in that when you look at the fantasy points per race, right? Of course, with NASCAR, you see guys that are like 40 some odd points or whatever, because there's a lot more to go around. But Max Verstappen leads all drivers with 23.5. Actually, he's tied with Oscar Piastri, if we're going to be completely honest. He's tied with Oscar Piastri, 23.5 fantasy points per race. Lando Norris, 23.1. Russell, 18.6. Leclerc, 15.6. Hamilton, 9.1. Albon, 8.1. And then there's just a drop-off, right? Hulkenberg, 7.3. Bearman, 6.2. Hadjar, 6.1. These are fantasy points per race, right? This is what they score on a weekly basis, right? And so it's so difficult when you start talking about these guys lower down the list in saying, yeah, this is a clear-cut home run, because it's not always. You could get 6 points, you could get none. Well,
and that's really what's like, those are the guys that are going to make the difference, right? You got to hit your big car, your guy up front, but a lot of times going into Sunday, we kind of know, like, is Max Verstappen starting in first? Well, it's probably his day, right? That's usually how that works. And so splitting the hairs farther down, and God, is this guy going to give me 1 point, or is he going to get me 3-4 points? That really can make a big difference in how your lineup plays out for you. So, yeah, again, it's very different from the NASCAR DraftKings game, but still a ton of fun.
Indeed. All right, well, I'll give you a constructor to take a look at. If you look at the top of the charts, it's McLaren at $13,700, averaging 46.7 fantasy points per race. But that's why they're $13,700. Ferrari right after them at $11,000, averaging 23.7 points per race. But I'm going to say that Mercedes at 22.4 fantasy points per race at $10,000 is a good play this week, because, look, we talked about the fact that we know Kimi Antonelli has had, these rookies, right? And Kimi Antonelli, one of these rookies, has been having a fantastic season. Average finish this season of 10.6 in his rookie year with Mercedes, taking over for Lewis Hamilton. So that means he's averaging a points finish in pretty much every single race that he's been in. A couple of times where he didn't finish in the points. It was a bad stretch. We talked about it in the race, or in the betting episode a couple days ago. A bad stretch between Silverstone and the Dutch Grand Prix, where he had a 16th place. Actually, we'll go back to Spielberg, where he finished 19th and then 16th at Silverstone. Spa, he finished 16th. He had a good finish, at least a points finish at the Hungaroring, but the Dutch Grand Prix, a 16th place finish. But since then, 9th, 4th, 5th, another bad finish at Coda, and then 6th place last week at Mexico City. So he's kind of picked it back up again, had a little trouble at Coda, but he finished 6th again last week. And so when we're talking about these constructors, right, both of them finishing inside of the points, both of them finishing inside of the top 6, like, that's big. George Russell, I don't got to say anything about George Russell. His average finish, 4.6 this year. His average start, 4.4. He's got 2 wins. He's one of the only 4 drivers that have won a race this year at all.
Outside the big 2, right? Well, really the big 1.5. Mm-hmm. The 2 McLaren drivers and Max Verstappen. Those are the 3 guys dominating everything race for the Drivers' Championship, right? Outside of that, Russell's the only one who's won.
Indeed. And he's got 8 podium finishes on top of that as well. He's only finished outside of the points how many times? points all season long. And that's 20 races so far, and he's only finished outside of the points in once, and that was an 11th place finish at Monte Carlo. So that tells you, and that's a tough track anyways. He started 14th and it got up to 11th. If you can do that at Monte Carlo, then you've done yourself some good stuff. But to put that in perspective, right? So you've got a Mercedes at 22.4 fantasy points per race, and Red Bull, like, you can't get Yuki Tsunoda in the points hardly anymore. So Red Bull is sort of a dead commodity. $9,700 for Red Bull, but McLaren's so hard to fit in. Ferrari so hard to fit in. And I think Mercedes is going to be difficult, but if you get creative, I think you can do it, and you're going to get a double points finish out of these guys, which carries a lot of weight in this constructor's scoring. So like I said, to me, if you want to try to get McLaren in there, fine. If you want to try to get Ferrari in there, fine. But 100% behind Mercedes, especially with the fact that both of these guys are going to classified finish. Both of them are going to finish in the points. And then if you can get both of them on the podium, all the better for you.
Yeah, I love this because they are cheaper than those top couple of teams, and yet they still have huge upside. I've got some thoughts on Kimi Antonelli as we get over into the underdog side of things, so I'll kind of save my thoughts on him. But, George Russell has been an absolute beast this year. So I end, like you said, one time finished outside of the points, so you're going to get points if you're playing George Russell. And then Antonelli's been in there a lot as well. So it's a great opportunity to score a good bunch. So love the play.
Absolutely. All right, well, get out your pen and paper. Time to go over our DFS plays for this Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Cody started you out with Pierre Gasly. His captain price is at $6,000. His regular price is at $4,000. I said Oliver Bearman at $6,600 for the captain and $4,400 as my suggestion. Cody gave you Esteban Ocon, his teammate, at $3,400. And I said Mercedes as the constructor at $10,000. Is another play that I like for this slate. All right, we're going to come back with some underdog fantasy plays for you for this race. But before we do, I want to officially tell you about our friends over at Underdog. Underdog is your home for pick'em entries where you can win up to 5,000 times your entry. Hold tight. We're about to give you our favorite Underdog plays for the slate. And in the meantime, they got a brand new offer, Underdog does, for new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACESGPN. Let's tell you about Rhythm. Rhythm is absolutely crushing it in college football, NFL, and they just added the NBA. Rhythm is also giving away weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model you build. You can win $1,000. Looking at some of these predictions that they've got right now about this Jaguars and Texans games, you're going to need something to actually pay attention to this game, my friend. And how about having a little something riding on it? Look, Rhythm is actually predicting that Jaguars minus 1.8, so 1.5. Well, close to 1.5 on this one, but they're giving the Jaguars minus 1.8 to beat the Texans, so they're favoring the Jaguars. Go jump in on that right now. Have yourself some fun. Use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off of your first month. Download Rhythm and use promo code SGPN25. Yes, even though NFL is king, sometimes you need a little extra motivation to keep an eye on what the Jaguars are doing, whether it's Travis Etienne or anybody.
I love the Jaguars, right? I've got way too many things invested in the future of the Jaguars. Love their trade for Jacoby Myers. Go Jags.
Yeah, that was actually a really, he got what he wanted, and we'll see what he gets what he wants, because I don't know that that's much better. But
well, he'll get paid by somebody at least. And they traded enough that you'd think they'd pay him, but we'll see.
Indeed. All right. Well then, Cody, let's turn to Underdog Fantasy, where it's the simple thing in the world, right? Especially with racing. You get a finishing projection, and all you got to do is say whether or not you think the driver is going to finish better than or worse than that finishing position, which I'm glad they cleaned up the language of the higher and lower, because that confused me. I'm too old to pay attention anymore to stuff like that. So better than or worse than, Cody? It's that simple.
Better than, worse than, easy enough. We don't have to explain to you anymore. Just like NASCAR, right? You can also put in your picks along with NFL stuff, along with NBA stuff, college basketball, college football, all sorts of stuff. And they've even had, I saw there was some dirt stuff in there this week.
Supercross is in there.
Yeah, Supercross is in there.
Highlight is in there, Cody.
Yeah, yes, all sorts of stuff. So whatever you want to get crazy on, you can put these plays in, obviously, and then continue to increase your potential return, which is always fun. So, all right, I'm going to start with the worst then on this one, and that's going to be Alex Albon. Worse than 9.5. Rod, 4 career starts at this circuit for Mr. Albon, including for Red Bull Racing when he was a driver for them, of course. How many finishes better than 9.5 do you think Mr. Albon has?
I'm going to say many. Out of that, 5.
Correct. No, he has 0. So, yeah, Alex Albon never finished better than 9.5, and really, he's never finished better than 13.5 if you wanted to look at it that way. So I love the worst then for this on Albon this week. So you go back to last year, 18th place, got crashed out on the first lap 2 years ago. He actually wrecked out on the warm-up lap. I already forgot it. TK, where are you at?
Formation lap.
The formation lap. That's what it is. Thank you. Crashed on the formation lap. So hasn't even completed any laps the last 2 years. That's not really a great sign for him. 2022, rather, a 15th place finish. He did not race in 21 for some reason. I don't remember what was going on then. There was no 2020 Grand Prix, obviously with COVID. And then 2019, when he was on the Red Bull team, the big Red Bull team, right? 14th was the best that he could muster. Then Red Bull wasn't quite what they are today at that point, but still 14th place finish. So don't love any of the previous races for him at this circuit. And then this season, he's actually been pretty good. Like, they opened up the year really good. I mean, he had 6 points finishes in the first 7 races. So 6 top 10s, right? To put it back into the NASCAR terms in the first 7 races. But it's been up and down since then, right? Some not good finishes, some good finishes. But now we're on a 4-race streak of 13th, 14th, 14th, 12th. So things have kind of settled down, and he's not really getting on the podium or in the points anymore, which you're gonna have to get in the points plus 1 because you got to finish 9th if you're taking the better than side of this. And it's a track where he's not been good ever in any time that he's come here. So give me the worst then on Alex Albon at 9.5.
And see, that's what you have to remember too, especially when you're watching Formula One and you're seeing. So you already have the 2 Mercedes drivers that you put in the top 10. You've got the 2 Ferrari drivers that you put down in the top 10. The 2 McLaren drivers. That's already 6 people right there. So the 4. I mean,
you haven't even mentioned Max Verstappen yet.
And and then Max Verstappen. So that's 7. See, well, I was thinking 2 Red Bulls, but then I was like, it's not 2 Red Bulls, but yeah. So that's 7. So now you got 3 spots available, right? And we already said that Bearman would probably be one of those in there. I'll bring up another guy that's usually in there as well. And so now that's 1 more. And yeah, that's 1 more. Sorry, I got to watch on YouTube I'm running out of fingers. That's only 1 more spot, and that's a highly contested spot between a lot of these guys. And if you're not getting
if we get weather, which is again, my whole weekend is probably going to hinge on weather, so it better fucking rain at this race. But if we get weather, it's not going well for him the last 2 years, right? And it's not to say he's bad in the weather because he can be fine, but he's generally not been good, or whether it's bad luck, whatever it is, I don't care. It's not worked out well. He's never done it in all 4 attempts spanning over many years, not just 4 recent attempts, a couple of recent attempts, a couple farther back attempts. Never done it on the trajectory of he hasn't done it in the last couple of races as well, last handful of races. So, I like the worst downside.
I'm with you on that one as well. I'm going to go better then because you know me, I'm a glass half full kind of a guy. Talked about him earlier when we were talking about Mercedes as the constructor. How about George Russell? I was going to say George Wilson. Russell Wilson? George? I don't know. Whatever. George Russell is his finishing projection from Underdog is set at 5.5. Oh my God, please give me the better than on this one. His average finish this year altogether, how about 4.6? That is much better, obviously, than 5.5. He's only finished worse than 5.5 in 5 races this season. The 7th at Mexico City, the 6th at Austin, the 10th at Silverstone, which really sucks because that was his home track, by the way, and the 7th at Imola. So that's 4, not 5. How about I count correctly, Rod? But yeah, only 5 of 20 races has he finished outside of 5th. Not just like 10th, not a top 10. No, top 5 finish. He's only done that worse than that 5 times in 20 starts this season. Now, granted, the last 2 of his races have been outside of the top 5. That 6th at Cody and that 7th at Mexico City. But, before that, he won at Marina Bay, 2nd at Baku, 5th at Monza, 4th at the Dutch Grand Prix, 3rd at the Hungaroring, 5th at Spa. So a really good stretch of top 5 finishes. Broken at Cody, but that's all right. How has he done on this track in particular? Well, he's finished better than 5.5 in 2 of the last 3 races. He won here in 2022, starting on the pole. He led 66 laps of that race on his way to the win. 15th place in 2023. That was an engine problem that kept him from finishing well. He did start 8th in that race, so obviously speed and qualifying. And Mercedes, they can get up there if they need to, so I feel like he could have very well made it. And then last year, he started on the outside pole, led 28 laps, ended up finishing in 4th place. So still a top 5 finish for George Russell. We just talked about him a couple seconds ago. Only one of 4 drivers to have won a race this season, and in F1 terms, that's huge. Because when the win consolidation is in 1 or 2 drivers' hands, to break into that, not just once but twice, is a really big deal. And so George Russell just been on absolute fire. Should not be set at 5.5 for his projection. I just feel like that's way too low, and you need to jump on that now, because another top 5, if not a win, is in Russell's favor this week.
Yeah, I like it. You obviously made the point earlier with the Mercedes constructor play. Now you got Russell finishing better than. Obviously, that's going to be good. And I'll just pile on because I'm going to take his teammate, Kimi Antonelli, better than 7.5. Wasn't able to work him in the betting episode anywhere based on odds and just couldn't find a play that I loved. But I think this is a great place to play him. Love this. He's done it in 3 of the last 4 races. So one of the things with Antonelli, you don't have to go back and look at the history because he's a rookie. It's his first year, right? First year, you're just stepping in to fill in Lewis Hamilton's shoes. No big deal, right? But that's what tells you that this kid is obviously very good. You talked about him, I believe, on the betting episode. Young kid, but he jumped in and he started off the season 3 top 6 finishes in a row, just came out of the gates swinging. And then, he's had some ups and downs. He definitely had kind of that summer stretch of not great runs. There was really a 9-race run where he only finished in the points 1 time in Canada, and just things struggled, right? Maybe you hit that rookie wall or whatever it is, but he seemingly has gotten over that wall. Things have gotten a little better. Now, these last 4 races, things have looked a lot better. The Italian Grand Prix comes out and runs in 9th place, goes to Baku, finishes in 4th, Singapore 5th. Cody wasn't kind to him with a 13th place finish, but followed it up with Mexico last race out with a 6th place finish. So he's been running well down the stretch here, and I think he's going to have a good weekend this week. So give me Kimi Antonelli better than 7.5.
And it's just fun to say. Kimi Antonelli, right? I know it's not, it's Antonio Kimi, but Kimi is always, I love when my youngest goes, hey, Kimi. So yeah, I'm with you on Kimi. It's, like I said, fun to say, fun to bet on, fun to cheer for. And I mean, look, he's a good kid. Like, how can you not like yourself some Kimi Antonelli?
Agreed.
I would have him as a son-in-law if I possibly could. Plus, I'd love the money. All right. I'm going to go with a guy that I actually, I talked a lot about when we were talking about Underdog Fantasy, and I brought his name up several times over because he's been really good, especially for what we keep getting him at for Underdog, and that's Isaac Hadjar of those Racing Bulls, those blasted Racing Bulls, the one that's been consistently a Racing Bull, right? The other seat around him has flip-flopped over the course of the season, but Isaac Hadjar has been holding down that principal role in the Racing Bulls very well, to be honest with you. His finishing projection is set at 10.5. I'm going to take the better than. His average finish position this season is 11.7. Obviously not 10.5, but still pretty damn close. He did finish 10th at Baku, 10th at Monza, 3rd at the Dutch Grand Prix, 7th in Catalunya, 6th at Monte Carlo. That's tough. Already props to him for finishing 6th at Monte Carlo, because that is not an easy track to get around. 9th at Imola, 10th at Jeddah, 8th at Suzuka. So he's had several points finishes as Isaac Hadjar, and he's just been one of those guys where he's not flashy. He's not going to be one of those guys that continues to get his name called out over and over again on the broadcast, because he's not going to be in the top 6, and he's not going to be trolling for a really huge position. But he's just going to go out and run a nice, clean race. And those racing bulls do actually have some pace. Lest we forget, it's still a Red Bull affiliate. Granted, it's not necessarily got the full backing of the main team, but they still have access to all of that stuff that they've got. And like I said, Isaac Hadjar has just been quietly going about business, scoring points finishes when he needs to, and really just doing a good job of saying, okay, look, if Yuki doesn't work out next year, I'm right here and I'm getting into the points more than Yuki is. So, I have a feeling that we may see Isaac in the big boys equipment next year based on the fact that he's been able to sort of keep this Red Bull or this Racing Bull equipment nice and clean and in decent, respectable finishes. So I like him better than a 10.5 place finish this week in Brazil.
Yeah, as the season continues to churn on, down the road here, you definitely have got these drivers looking for bigger opportunities like that. They've made the switch at the top with the decision makers now at Red Bull there. Things are different. Yuki's not really held up his part, and as much as I wanted him to be great in that car, he's not been. So they're looking. Is Max Verstappen coming back to Red Bull? We still don't know. So it could be 2 open seats at Red Bull. But yeah, Hadjar's got a lot to race for right now. Not only that, but we've seen how hard it is for these guys to stay on the grid if they're not performing. So, maybe got that extra fire under his seat, and we've seen a lot of guys show up and perform when they do.
Yeah, I mean, look, overall, he's 10th in the points, right? His average start this year is 10.4. Yuki Tsunoda, on the other hand, 17th in points. And it's, that's speaks large and loudly to some of those guys looking at the standings going, maybe we should have gone with the other side of this as well. So, like I said, he's got to continue to show up for the last few races of the season and earn that spot in the big boys roster next year. All right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our underdog fantasy plays for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Cody started you off with Alex Albon, worse than 9.5. I said George Russell would finish better than 5.5. Cody said that Kimi Antonelli would place better than 7.5. And I said Isaac Hadjar would turn in another points finish at 10.5. Like we said, Cody, NASCAR may be over, but racing is not, and this is always such a fun way to spend. And it's on at a decent hour because it is on this hemisphere, so you guys don't have to worry about waking up at 4 a.m. to watch this race on Sunday.
Yeah, that's always nice. By the way, if you put all these in together, our 4 picks there, 10.2 times your entry fee on the payout, so that's always nice. But little Sunday morning racing, get it. Get that on one TV. You got the Colts Falcons over in Germany on the other TV. Beautiful way to start off a Sunday. Going to be a lot of fun.
Indeed it is. All right, Cody. Well, then let us wrap up episode 700 of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. This is okay because we kind of breezed through all this. I just want to say to everybody out there, I know that it's a long season. I know that it's a grind, and I know that a lot of people that listen to the NASCAR stuff may not listen to this. But for those of you who are hardcore fans, are listening to this, are still watching this on YouTube, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because 700 episodes is not an easy task for any podcaster, let alone one or two trying to cover NASCAR, which is already a niche sport in and of its own. And then the betting aspect of it, which even narrows down the audience. So for those of you who do pay attention and do watch and do listen and do interact, love each and every one of you. Tell a friend. That's all we ask. Rate, review, subscribe, do all the things that make these shows do what they do, because we're here for the long haul, and we want to be here for another 700 more, like we said in the beginning of the episode, and even more after that. So stick with us. We got way more coming for you down the pipe.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the season-long grind of NASCAR. We're working it. We're grinding. That's the main focus, right? Now we're just going to go have fun. Watch some racing. Have fun. Dabble a little bit in the F1 side of things. It's a beautiful time. Go have fun on Sunday. Relax. Enjoy some different style of racing and a different style of strategy. And yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. Have fun. Back next week to talk some NASCAR future stuff, some silly season updates, all sorts of stuff as the world turns, right? The lawsuit stuff keeps changing a little more every day. So going to be pretty exciting. And then, of course, the next race will be in 2 weeks. but that is the Las Vegas Grand Prix, Rod. So we'll have a 3-week stretch of F1 to finish out the season. So absolutely love it. Love all you guys, including you, Slow Roll. So we're the best in the biz. Thank you. We appreciate it. We have a good time. That's really all that matters.
Indeed. All right. Well, as we send everybody off to fill out their cards and their DFS and their underdog picks for this F1 race, Cody, let everyone know where they can catch up on you on the outside of this.
Yeah, follow me over on the X at Husker_ZB. You can find all of my stuff over there. There's a lot of it. Thursday night, if you're ready getting stuff in for the game tonight, if you're listening live or catching us before the game, I got my article over there breaking down the game with my best bets. Confidence pool picks is up. College football upset parlays up. NFL props for the weekend is on its way. All kinds of stuff over there. Not just racing, bet on fantasy, all kinds of stuff for everything. Absolutely love sports. Love being a DGen. So, yeah, have a good weekend. Good luck to everybody this week. Enjoy the first NASCAR free weekend as much as you can. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, follow me on Twitter at RJVillagomez, where I will be enjoying the first NASCAR this weekend and having a good time telling you guys what I'm up to. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week, like Cody said, for more NASCAR silly season talks and some odds talks. So until then, let's go racing and let it ride.